Do you have a least favorite author?
I do. I think we're gonna get a lot of flack for this one.
Okay.
I am gonna go with Rebecca Yarros.
Okay. All right. Why?
Um,
Happy New Year. Well,
Happy New Year.
almost. Almost. We, it is New Year's Eve, like lunchtime. We're not crazy and doing it as the ball's dropping, but like, welcome back to the Book Love Podcast, where we go beyond the pages in front of us. I'm going to try out some nicknames today. She's Bookish Becca, and I'm Matt from Ohio. And we are here to do our 2025 Wrapped in Reading. But Happy New Year, sister. What up?
Love that we sat down to do this. I think this is the first episode I bothered to do my homework before showing up to. And you made me go through all of the books that I've read and or listened to this year, and I forgot some of them.
Yeah, I'm coming into this raw. I'm cold today. Um I just knew that I had like a book total and a page count that I wanted to hit, so I knew where I was about. But otherwise, I'm cold. So we're complete opposites today.
Love it.
And can you believe that it has been? Elizabeth reminded me of this. Can you believe that it has been 1 year exactly? 1 year ago on New Year's Eve, we were hanging out here in Columbus. That feels like 5 years ago. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, because it was one of your friends could no longer make it to dinner, and we impromptu went up and we were like, sure, we'll take your tickets for dinner.
Yep.
And we had caviar on ice cream, and you hated it, and I loved it.
Yes, exactly.
These are the important facts, people. And then
Mhm.
what? 1 week later, we recorded our first podcast.
Was it that soon?
It was in January, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I don't think I posted anything until March, which is why, like, I think I was trying to get a backlog of stuff.
Yes, I do remember you talking about that because you can't really just post one episode and disappear.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So this is also almost like a year podcast reunion thing.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like coming into these things cold. It's fun. I see why you do it.
It really adds a lot to it, doesn't it?
hmm Well, okay. 2025 Wrapped. I don't even know if Wrapped is like a Spotify thing or if everybody does Wrapped, but like I guess that's what we're doing.
I did see a Jimmy John's Wrapped the other day from a content creator. So, I think Spotify started it, but I think others are on the train,
Wrapped seems more applicable to subs. I don't know why.
right? And it was they gave you how many inches of subs you ordered. I'm like, yeah, that's kind.
That is really cool. I actually, okay, so I got pissed off with Spotify because, okay, you've been in my car and you know that my center console is just CDs. I'm an old school millennial. So when I get my rap from Spotify, I'm like, that is not indicative of what I listened to this year. And I also hate Spotify insofar as it's like November 25th and they're like, here's your 2025 wrapped. Like I have an entire year, like month left. What's going on?
Obviously don't want to add any Christmas music to their Wrapped list.
Clearly. But you pointed out Storygraph is not that way. There is, I think we can still get our 2024 wrapped, but not our
Yep.
2025 wrapped yet.
Yep. Every time I click on it thinking it's going to be 2025, I'm like, oh my gosh, I loved that book. It's been so long. Oh, because it's been 2 years since I read that book.
I mean, on some level, I appreciate it because, like, I'm going to read today and my stats will update. But, like, also, it's December 31st. You could probably go ahead and give us our stats now. All right. So, where do you want to start with talking about everything 2025?
Should we talk about what reading goals you had for 2025 and if you managed to make it?
Sure. Who do you want to go first? Your choice.
Mine's much easier. Very simple. My goal was 25 books,
Okay.
which is one book over, $2 a month. Very intentional decision there. Same reading goal that I had in 2024, in case you were curious. I looked at my 2024 goal and I got there and I'm staying there because maintenance is sometimes equally as difficult as growth. And I did. I made my 2025 goal. I read
Nice.
20, no, let's see. I read 31 books. So I kind of smashed my goal of 25.
30, 31. Nice. Did you have the same reading goal in 2023?
I think 2023, my goal was actually 12 books because that was like the first year that I'd gotten back into reading. And then I think I read 24 books. Like I was
Okay.
like, oh, I can do that.
I remember seeing the 25 book goal, and it must have been like you posted something on Instagram at the beginning of 2024. And I was still in corporate world at that time. And I remember seeing that. And I remember looking at your sister and said, I don't know how the F she thinks she has time to read 25 books in a year.
What makes you so bold?
But I also wasn't taking into account that the books that I was reading then were just like the Wheel of Time series with like these 1,000-page books. Anyway, and now I'm eating my words hard because I was like, I'm just gonna imitate Becca. So for 2025, my goal was 25 books. And then like March showed up and I was like, I should probably increase that book goal. so so my book goal for the year was 50. I decided to try to do um a little over 4 books a month. And I still have 75 pages to read. But if I read those 75 pages, I will have read 61 books.
Awesome.
And I don't know how. And it sounds cool. And then you meet people like Wendy and Crozet who read like 150 books a year.
Friend from pharmacy school who reads 5 to 10 books a month, which includes some fantasy books that we've read. And
Woo!
she is a pharmacist and has 2 kids, like young kids that she's raising. I'm like, "How do you do it?" She's like, I can't sleep, so I just read." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't have the same
I don't
problem."
have that problem. Mm-mm. Reading actually makes me sleepy. Um, I've just always wondered, do those people just read like every 5 words on the page?
I do think she's a speed reader. I mean, to get through high level schooling, you do kind of have to read fast.
I mean, I guess I was a philosophy major. There is no concept of reading fast. So like that was I think my schooling taught me to read slower and more intentionally, if
Yep.
anything.
Yep. Well, and depending on the book and the writing style and all those different things, right, will really add up. Like the book I'm reading right now, I'm actually listening to an audiobook because it's like the 5th book in a series that I started like 3 years ago, right? So the last time I read a book for it was like a year and a half ago. So I don't remember the characters all that well. And it's an epic fantasy book. So there is, I think, 50 characters, and we're traveling through at least 5 or 6 different point of views. We didn't get to the main character until a quarter of the way through the book. Anywho, I tried reading, gave up. I'm now listening to the book because I couldn't read the words half the time because I was like, I know that doesn't mean anything to me anymore.
Does the listening help though?
Yes, yes, actually, it's made it a lot easier.
Can you tell me how?
Because when you're reading, especially like epic fantasy, and you see names and languages and all of that component of it, I feel like my brain spends a lot of time trying to sound those out till I pick a way to say it. And even though
I
I'm not
gotcha.
reading out loud, my brain needs a sound associated with it.
I gotcha. I do the same thing with languages. I think because I studied ancient Greek and Latin and Spanish and stuff, I just process those kinds of things more quickly. But I do. throw accents onto shit in my head, and like I'll stay there and like try to pronounce it 5 different ways until I pick the one I like. I know exactly what you're talking about. So the audiobook takes away all those pauses and it just goes. That's cool. Can I admit to you that I've never listened to an audiobook?
I think that should be a 2026 goal of yours. Just one audiobook, just one. It doesn't have to be epic or anything, just one.
Okay. I will I will I'll have to pick one. I think I think audiobooks have come such a long way since I was in high school and college. Um they were boring
And it was
back
like
then.
one or two narrators really dominated the field,
One.
I think. Could be
Yeah.
wrong, but I think there was only a select number of narrators.
Oh, in totality, yeah, it was like one narrator per book. But yeah, there was like a handful, 6 people that all authors could choose from.
Yes. And
Yeah.
now I think there's a lot more breadth and depth in it. Um, not only from a number of narrators being more options, but then also the graphic audio of like a whole cast of narrators being involved.
Yeah. I was actually talking to Elizabeth, so I'm going to have this debate with you briefly. When you listen to an audiobook, is that reading a book?
I feel like we've even talked about this on the podcast before, and I don't know that the verb matters. It's consumption of media
There you go. Okay.
and it's consumption of an author's creation. And you're going through the storyline, the plots, all of it. I'm still like when I listen to a book versus reading a book, I still have the same kind of motion picture that's being created in my head. I'm still thinking about it. But when I get to listen, I can go on a walk or do some chores around the house. Versus when I read, I have to sit and I'm fully consumed in this world. And so they're different vibes. I think they're good for different things.
Sure. I think my opinion is I agree with you. I think if we change the verb to books consumed rather than books read, because I do think reading is a specific activity, but I don't think that that matters so much. But then I think about it from like a movie perspective. You go to the movie theater, you watch a movie. One could argue that if you give me the script and you say, read this, I consumed a movie, but I sure as fuck didn't watch a movie. And I think the only reason the verb has like some type of difference is if you read the words versus listening to somebody else say the words, you're going to process it in your mind differently. Not necessarily for good or bad, just differently.
Yeah, it lights up different
Yeah.
centers. And to your point, when I'm in a movie theater, I watch a movie. When I'm home, I listen to a movie.
Hmm.
I'm not watching what's on screen, even though honestly, that's where most of the magic is.
Yeah. Yeah. You're looking at this screen and listening to the big screen. Yeah.
Yep. Or
Yeah.
doing chores, or it's background noise, or whatever.
um, okay. So we consumed 31 and 61 books. Can I ask how many pages did your 31 books come out to be?
So, Storygraph on one point said that I read 12,609 pages, which we've talked about this before. Depending on the book edition you put in there, that's a different number of pages. But also, more importantly, I did listen to books this year. So later down, I saw it broken up in pages versus hours.
Interesting.
So I read 9,735 pages, but I listened to 81 hours of books, and I'm
Wow.
working on 30 hours right now. So if I finish that tonight, add another 30.
That's crazy. That's like, okay, if you get those 30 hours, that's like 3 weeks of a job.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
That's crazy. I say that's crazy as we are sitting here recording a podcast that people are going to listen to during their jobs. So
Yeah.
I listened to zero. So my page count came out to be close to 25,500, which actually works out pretty well. It's exactly double yours, and my book count is exactly double yours.
Which is kind of interesting because I feel like you read some pretty thick books that are like
Eh,
nonfiction that I don't know.
I only read two of those this year,
Okay.
because you helped me read other things this year. And then those big fiction books or nonfiction books, I've started reading as I fall asleep. So I'll be in bed and I'll read like 10 pages and I'm out.
So they take a lot longer to get through then.
They take a lot longer to get through. Did you have a favorite author this year?
I think I had a hard time picking just one. So there were two authors that I decided to pick. So we talked a lot about the Scarlett St. Clair's books that I read, and I got convinced you to read those. I also think it's super cute. I got a little gift from the author, and I'm pretty sure that's all because of you.
Yeah, that was a Christmas present from me. Yeah.
It's so
Ooh.
cute. So a little stamp that I got, and then some artwork for the
Oh, super good.
characters.
Is that her family or is that from one of the books?
I think it's from one of the books.
Okay.
And the little one in the character has a rat tail, so I don't think it's the one I just read with the fox. So that's what's really throwing
Obviously,
me off.
also not her child.
No, no, it has a rat tail. It's definitely a character in a book. Similarly, this is also a character in a book, hence the horns.
I love it. I love it. I didn't realize there was going to be goodies in there. I thought I was just signing you up to get a Christmas card.
Right? So this one has like holly, it looks like in the top corner. So it very much fits the Christmas vibe.
I wonder if that is no, I can't. I had a book I thought in mind, but 'cause I follow all these people on Instagram and stuff. So when she limited, by the way, she limited how many Christmas cards she sent out to 1,000 people.
I was into people.
And I got in there right in the middle, I think, before she shut it off. Um, so that's kind of limited edition stuff. That's pretty
Yeah, no
cool.
kidding. No
That's
kidding.
cool.
Then the other
Okay.
author I had picked out as one of my favorite was Geneva Lee. I listened to one of the series and then read the other series, but she has Filthy Rich Fae and Filthy Rich Vampires, which are just filthy rich books worthy of devouring.
Nice. Nice. I love it. Oh, man. I think so. Alex Haro is definitely one of my favorite authors this year. I was actually looking through all my 5-star books, and every single one of her books was a 5-star book for me. Um, and I was trying to think of a second author that I could list as like a favorite, and like that was actually pretty hard. Um, so like I guess I'm gonna have some honorable mentions if that's
Yeah,
okay with you. Okay.
yeah,
Um, surprise to you, I bet. Sarah Samuels,
yeah.
because of the prequel novel that I beta read for her.
Oh, yeah,
That
that'll do it.
thing is good. Like that's I think that's a so it's dark fantasy. So dark fantasy doesn't like hit you in your soul. It doesn't change you as a person, you know? So it's not a 5-star, but it was as close to like a perfect dark fantasy book as I've ever read. Um, Audrey Ingram. I binged her books between Christmas and New Year's. They're the most
Yeah, you
recent books
did.
I've read, and amazing. And Elizabeth is reading one of them right now, and I think you should read them too because. And then I'm gonna go ahead and throw Kathy Reichs in there, mainly because she was my most read author of the year. Like I think I've read like 15 books from her. And I think I still have 10 more in her series before I'm done. Um, but yeah, Alex Haro is definitely my favorite author of the year. I think that surprised me. All right. Do you have a least favorite author?
I do. I think we're gonna get a lot of flack for this one.
Okay.
I am gonna go with Rebecca Yarros.
Okay. All right. Why?
Um, the original Fourth Wing book, phenomenal. Obviously, when a book is that big and an author needs to finish like writing the rest of the series, that makes it hard, right? So we're like stuck in a weird spot of like 3 books are out, 2 more books are coming. I didn't love Onyx Storm like how I wanted to. And I think by the time her series is finished, I would feel differently. But I re listened to the books to get ready for Onyx Storm. I don't think I needed to spend the time doing that. She's a great author. It's nothing against her. I made a poor decision.
That's interesting. I was trying to think of who my least favorite author was. So I was kind of going through the books that I didn't give a star rating, and I was going through the books that I gave like a 0.5 or a 1. And it's really fascinating because I don't have any beef with any of those authors. Um I sadly I was throwing Sarah J. Moss and Rebecca Yarros around in my head. And I think it's because I know what they're capable of. And so like Crescent City series was a really good series, but it also bummed me out a lot in like the middle. I feel like a lot, especially with fantasy, it can be a horrible book. And then it has like all these amazing plot twists and connections at the very end. And you're left with these like graduation goggles. And but like, I feel like Crescent City did that a lot for me. You're like, why the fuck is all of this happening? But oh my God, this is amazing. And then I feel like I'm right there with you. I'm not going to give you flack for the Rebecca Yarros pick. I'm sure the internet will, but
Yes.
I felt like Fourth Wing was like a 4.75 5-star book. And then the next two, they're not bad books, but they weren't that same level.
Zayden's not my book boyfriend, okay? I
No.
just can't stand him.
I mean, I would probably sleep with Zayden, but like I wouldn't date him. You know what I mean?
No.
You get
Yeah.
that experience but I feel a lot better that I can say those things because I feel like if you, we're putting this on the internet. So like 5 people might crucify me. Um, but like if you went out to like a bookstore and you're like, Rebecca Yarros, like you wouldn't leave that bookstore alive.
Yeah. And I think to be fair, as we've continued reading and like, I could never write a book. Like I don't have this skill set. So I think I'm also just incredibly envious and proud of these authors for pursuing that. So I think picking a least favorite author, it's like picking a least favorite child. You don't?
I mean, you don't, but you also do. I'm like, let's all be serious. That happens. Even if you don't admit it to yourself, it's there.
And then like when we were at Crozet and we're learning about the publishing industry and like all of that, you're like, ooh, ooh, the authors have a lot less say in things than they really should, which is then frustrating because you're like, I want the author's unedited version of this, and or like maybe their editors edited it still.
Yeah, I think Crozet actually. Let's just skip over to that. This is gonna be cool. I think um so for listeners, the questions are like that we're going to talk about. We'll tangentially touch on things we learned, our favorite bookish moments, crap like that. In Crozet, I think the revelation that hit me because of what you just said. Talent is no indication of success. And I think the reason that I'm kind of upset with all of these books being turned into shitty TV shows and movies is because I think the other thing I'm learning is that um, good stories don't make it. Popular stories make it that big. And that, I think that hurts my soul a little bit. And it also blew my mind to figure all of that out.
To be fair, though, I do want Fourth Wing to be a movie.
I wouldn't mind that, no. Um, I think a lot of fantasy. So Game of Thrones, I think, kind of ruined fantasy a little bit on the screen because Game of Thrones is a fantasy novel. It's dark fantasy, and there's not really any real magic in there. It's just sort of dragons and there's magic, but like not fantasy magic that we think of as magic. It's more like religious type ceremony and blah blah blah. Anyway, it got really popular. So I think the industry thinks that fantasy things are popular. But as soon as you take a real fantasy, as Lord of the Rings helped with that too. And again, no real magic. Like, so as soon as you get something like Light Lark or um, the Fourth Wing or Akatar, and you have like real magic that people are wielding, and you have to visualize that, and it's always going to suck.
Yeah.
And I think that's
I
why they
also
fail.
saw a hot take yesterday about how not Lord of the Rings. Oh, what were we just talking about? The series? Throne of Glass. No, not Throne of
Game
Glass.
of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
That Game of Thrones is romantasy because if you remove the romantic plots in there, you lose a lot of the plot story. And it had like pointed out a couple of different things, and that the publishing industry defines romantasy as a fantasy book that requires the romantic storyline to continue to be part of it. Otherwise, if you remove it, it makes no sense. And so it's interesting reading it because they're like, Throne of Glass is an epic fantasy. You can take all of the romance out of it and it still makes sense and moves forward.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Akatar, not so much. That relationship is really key to it. But that Throne of Glass gets labeled romantasy because the author has done romantasy before. Therefore, obviously, all she can write is romantasy. You're like, oh, this is why some of these genres are such BS.
Yeah, I want us to do an entire episode on romantasy where we just talk about it, and we can have that come out in February. But like, the concept of romantasy bothers me.
Should we go into what your most read genre was then?
Most read genre. Fantasy.
What? No, me too.
Shocker. Okay, so what was your second most read genre?
Shocking. Romance.
Shit, okay, me too.
So I had to laugh when I was like going through my 2025 goals. One of my goals was to read a romance book. And I think the way I defined that internally was much like when we went to the romance author section in our Crozet experience, where we kind of learned about more traditional or finite romance books. And I didn't really read one of those this year. So I didn't mark it as a win, even though when you look at it, every book I read has a romantic theme to it. So for me, I think it's always hard to pull out because I think it was like 31 of my books were considered fantasy, and then like 28 were considered romance.
I read 31 fantasy and 24 romance, but like Timeborn is considered a romance and Onyx Storm is considered romance. But here's the thing. So Audrey Ingram was in that romance thing at Crozet. I read all three of her books. I would not I would not say any of them are romance. There's so much more than that. They have some romance things in them, but they're not the bodice busters from the early 90s.
No, no. Well, and what what is life without romantic storylines?
Yeah.
So obviously, all books are going to have some romantic storyline to them, whether it's platonic and or not. There is some type of romantic storyline.
And I think it's also fascinating because, like what they were talking about, it might have actually been Audrey who said this. She said that that romance has changed since the 90s, and it's no longer the woman becomes complete by finding a man. It's that in order to find a partner, the person has to be complete on their own first. And so then I read these romance novels, and that's why I'm like, that's not a romance novel. It's a coming of age story. It's a dealing with grief story. It's a, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I like those more. So let me ask you this. What was the biggest thing you learned about you and books this year? Um, if you need an example, I can give you an example of myself if that's helpful. Okay. Let's go. I'll go two things. I learned I'll go three things. Okay. I learned that as a white Midwestern dude with a mustache, um, much prefer and empathize with female protagonists. I learned that I much prefer authors who have some age and life experience to them. And I learned that I prefer female authors over male authors. And then I have reasons for all of those things. But like those are some examples of myself. That's what I learned while reading this year.
Um, I think this is also impacting my 2026 goals in the subplot. But I had learned that just because it's popular doesn't mean I want to read it. I DNF'd a book that I thought I would really enjoy. I think I read 20 pages into it, and I cannot tell you why I DNF'd it. I was just not in the mood, wasn't for it. I don't know. That's the quickest I've ever DNF'd a book too, because normally I like gotta read 5 chapters before you decide you don't like it. You know, eat your Brussels sprouts too, man. So I think like recognizing how much my mood plays into whether I am ready to read a book or not, um, is has been key for 2025. I also think I've learned the value of an audiobook this year. You know, I don't think I really listened to a lot of audiobooks previously. So I think that was my big learning lesson of like, oh yeah, if I'm on a drive by myself, I should probably be listening to a book.
Yeah. Are we gonna have to find an audiobook when we drive back to Virginia?
Yes.
Okay. I'll let you pick the book. And can we finish it in 14 hours?
But yeah, there's lots of yeah, we'll be good.
Yeah, I think I learned that here's the difference that I've found with female authors versus male authors. Um, and obviously there's shades of gray, there's gonna be outliers, but I think that male authors, the storylines are very much me against the world. And with female authors, it's very much me and my friends against the world. And I really like the group against the world. I think it creates more interesting dynamics, more interesting characters. There's more hope. But also, I think the betrayals are more meaningful and bigger.
Yeah.
Like I think that's just better. I think it's just, and then I think female authors write characters better because they get more of the psychology of their characters. I think with the male authors that I've read, it's very much like we're going to describe the world, we're going to build the magic system, and the battles are going to be amazing. But like the motivations behind a lot of characters don't make sense, or they're two dimensional. Women just have this like je ne sais quoi thing that they can just imbue into their books. And that's not to say that J.R.R. Tolkien or Robert Jordan or Terry Goodkind or Stephen King or whomever are bad writers. It's just different.
Tried to read Lord of the Rings so many times. So many times. I read The Hobbit, to be fair. I read The Hobbit. I liked The Hobbit. I cannot read Lord of the Rings. I will watch 12 hours of Lord of the Rings of my own free will on repeat. Maybe because the sceneries are epic, the music's amazing. I care about the characters, but the plot sometimes is weird of Lord of the Rings. And my gosh, the writing style, it does not hold my attention.
It is antiquated and academic.
Yes.
Yes. I think the only reason I can do that stuff is because I'm used to reading stuff written in like 4000 BC. So this then starts to feel pretty modern.
And I already do enough academic things. I don't want my enjoyment to also be academic in nature.
Yeah. Um, what'd you think about doing this all year?
This was good. I think I learned a lot along the way. No, because so when we started, we had no expectations for where this would go. Literally none. The point was for us to connect. So in the very beginning, that's really all it was. And not that it hasn't, that it's not still that. I think now I'm like, oh, if we continue down this trajectory, what am I okay with putting out on the internet versus what do I want not on the internet? And, I think we've felt that a little bit this year of like the tug of war of like, oh, no, that's an unacceptable question to ask me. um, and so I think that's been a really fun learning point this past year, but it's also provided a lot of motivation for me to like actually finish books because I love hobbies. I have a hard time prioritizing sometimes. So this helped me prioritize reading.
Okay. I think this was a creative outlet that I needed. I think it was like a puzzle that I needed to put together. And I mean, to be fair, it's not like people watch. People watch, but people don't watch. You know what I mean? Um, so it's not that important, but
No.
uh, it's still a fun puzzle to put together. Like, how do you record? How do you edit things together? And it's been like this, like, how do you create these scripts? Because I remember like the first two scripts that I threw out there, it was like every single line will be scripted. I am going to assume Becca's personality. You know what I mean? Um, and I think over time they've gotten less and less and less, with the exception of like when we recap things.
Yeah. I
And it's
think
just
my learning point has been like how much paranoia do I suffer with, right? So when the mail came from Scarlett St. Clair, I was like, "Oh my god, how did an author get my address?" And it took me a hot minute to sit down and be like, "Oh, I bet Matt entered me in for something." And I think it's probably very innocuous, but my brain went to like doomsday first of like my address is on the internet, but obviously like if someone wants it, it's out there. Like it
if
is.
somebody wants it, I don't think they're going to send you a Christmas card.
Exactly. That too. That too. So I think that's been like the only part of this that I'm like, oh, that's a side of myself I don't like.
I think I did tell you when I was at your house. I was like, your other another Christmas present is coming for you in the mail, and I want to see if you can spot it. But I think I told you that in the midst of some chaos, and it didn't like take.
Oh, now that you say it again, I remember you saying that. And I don't think my brain thought that it would be a post, like quite literally a mail card. That makes sense. I got it now. Not very bright up here sometimes.
I think the podcast has been fun. I've read a lot of books that I probably would not have picked up off the shelf. Um, and it's led to a couple of cool opportunities for for us and for me specifically. Um, and I think that's cool. Even if it's just we get like 5 views or something, it's whatever.
It's been a ton
So
of fun to put together, and I have actually had a lot of people ask me about the podcast. So even if they're not listening or watching or whatever, I have had a lot of like friends, coworkers that reach out and they're like, "Well, Ona, you have a podcast," and I'm like, "Well, I mean, to be fair, it's really my brother-in-law's podcast because he does 90% of the work."
it's our
And they're like,
podcast.
"But you're on a podcast," and I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "That's so cool." So I think that's been really interesting. Of like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, this is kind of cool."
We did speaking of wrapping the podcast, I'm not gonna like talk about how many views we did or anything like that because I think that's really stupid. But we put out 54 episodes. Um and then of course I did a shit ton of shorts on YouTube and Instagram that I've since learned don't do that. Less is more, definitely. And then for a lot of our buddy reads, when we did recaps and stuff, I would cut the recap out and put that as a standalone video. So I can only imagine that we have like 200 or 300 videos total out there. Like 54 episodes. I think that's pretty snazzy.
I think that's really cool.
Um, it's pretty cool that it changed how you read and got you to finish more books. I think it just got me to read things that I didn't like. I probably would not have read the Scarlett St. Clair books, but like I'm glad I read those books. I think they're very academic in nature,
Yeah.
and even though they're not at all, they're
Yeah.
not at
No.
all, but they
Super
are.
quick reads, easy to digest. But then also, if you think hard about it, you're like, oh, I need to reread that and see how that connects to this story and this time period.
Mhm. Is is Crozet your number one like bookish event memory thing?
Yeah. I mean, I also probably would have never done that without this podcast, right? Like, that was kind of a big motivator. Like, oh, we'll go to this book event and we'll talk about it for the podcast. And I just had a lovely time. First off, the wineries there are fun and amazing. Got to hang
Yeah.
out with you, my sister. That was worth it. Kevin's like, "Can I come next year?" So I think I think we'll have to make another uh planned trip.
Would you? So I know like there's a book festival thing here in Columbus. And then because I follow authors, I've learned that there's more book festivals around like Western PA and other places in Virginia. Is it like something that you want to do more of, or is it like one and done, or maybe come up to Columbus for two and done?
Yeah, probably more in the 2 or 3 bucket
Yeah.
list. Like, I wouldn't mind going to, like, we're not far from Pittsburgh, but, like, I don't need to make this a monthly thing.
Oh, oof. My wallet doesn't need to make it a monthly thing. Um, yeah, I loved the book fest. It felt special because I've been to other book events, or at least I've seen them on YouTube or whatever, and they just seem so big. And this one was so small and cozy, and I loved it. Um, I have interviewed two authors this year. Only one of those is out right now. The second one will come out in January. I have a third author that has I already set a date to interview, and I'm trying to get a fourth one on the hook. So like I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then being asked to beta read for an author um, is also a really cool experience,
Right? I think this is wild.
especially because it wasn't just beta read here. I'm going to send you a document and have some notes. It was like phone calls, and I'm still in contact with that author. She sent me a voice note late last night. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's pretty cool. And like, it's not monetary. It's just, we like books and book things and book people. Um, okay. What do you want out of 2026? More bookish experiences, more podcast episodes, fewer podcast episodes, different books. What do you want to do?
A few things. I want to go back to crochet.
Score.
I want to do more library events, whether they're bookish or not. Like this past year, I did my local library did a mushroom growing event, and so I
Ooh,
have mushrooms growing in my backyard from that.
okay.
So I want to do more
Nice.
things like that, um, or author events that the library hosts. I also for 2026 like book goals, I want to read more genres and I want to read more small authors.
How are you going to find those small authors?
The
Are you going to
library.
wait until October to go back to crochet?
The library?
Okay.
Or I don't know. I feel like I do a decent job of like finding them based off of what I want to read. Like feel like I maybe they're not small authors and I just don't know anything. But like I read a book called The Stolen Fae this past year and I'm pretty sure that was a smaller author. So
Okay.
like using Hoopla, Libby, librarians help me find new authors that aren't maybe book talk trends.
I did learn from the second author I interviewed, she did tell me that the trends on Book Talk are pay to play. Authors pay book talkers and bookstagrammers to hype their books. And like, I get it, we all got to make a living. But
Yep.
once again, talent is no indication of success. And
Yes.
that hurts because I think that writing should be based upon talent and not money.
I mean, I feel like we think that in a lot of things, but that's just not true.
Yeah. I definitely think that way with art, though. I Are you gonna stick with your 25 book goal for 2026, or are you gonna up it to say 30?
Nope. We're going to stick with 25. It's a really good goal for me. Okay.
You that dopamine hit?
Like meeting my goals. You got to make them smart, specific, measurable, attainable. I can attain 25 books.
All right. I think I'm gonna stick with 50 again. Um, I also wanna go back to crochet. I mean, to be fair, I'm gonna be going back to crochet, like, a lot, though. Um, and I think I wanna go to the Columbus Book Fest, and I think that's in the summer, though. And I think I wanna make it a goal to interview at least one author every month.
Ooh, that's a good goal.
That's a scary goal.
Yeah.
It is. I'm not going to lie. All of you people out there, it's really scary shooting your shot with these people. And you just have to remember they're people too. They're like, they're not big shots. They're just normal people, but they feel like big shots because you're loving the thing that they created.
I think that would be pretty awesome.
um, and I don't think I want to read more genres. I think I want to read more authors. Like I was looking at
Mm,
my graphs, and I think I stuck with a lot of the same authors. I get in this like it's almost like subconsciously analytical, where it's like, oh, I really like this author. I want to see if they get better, or I want to see how the fourth book compares to the first book, right? But like, I think I want to read more authors. I think exploration is going to be the key next year.
yeah. I think all of my books will still be fantasy, but maybe some different subgenres.
Yeah. Because where does fantasy stop? You know?
Should we talk about 5-star reads, 1-star reads?
Sure. You start. Where do
So
you want to
my
start?
5-star reads, the only 5-star I have rated in Storygraph right now is the first Crescent City book.
Okay. Yeah.
The second 2 Crescent City books came in at 4.75, so not far. And Apples Dipped in Gold was 4.5. Somehow, did you know that we finished Kingdom of Ash in 2025?
We did?
It was our first book in January. So that was also up there.
Huh. Okay.
But I didn't rate 15 out of the 31 books that I read because I have a hard time rating books.
I had 9 5-star books. Um, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 of those are from Alex Haro.
Tracks.
So, um, A Spindle Splintered, A Mirror Mended, Starling House, The Once and Future Witches, and The 10,000 Doors of January. I did not read her newest book this year, so I'll have to do that one. But um, I got Fourth Wing, the first Crescent City book, um, the very first Kathy Reichs book that I read. It's called Deja Dead. It's the first of the Temperance Brennan books. And then I think the best of the 5-star books that I read, the best of the 5-star, if it was like 5.5, The Hints of Light by Kristen Kiska. I think that was the best book that I read this year.
I think I always have a hard time reading books as best books because in that moment, that book is the best book because I just read it.
Yeah, I think I've actually changed to be a lot like you. I'm always the most hyped about the most recent book that I read. But I think when I think about the year in review, it's like which one stuck with me the most?
Which kind of brings us to the memorable books.
Yeah.
And of note, none of my memorable books were 5-star reads, apparently, for me.
Interesting.
And they're
Okay.
all memorable for good reasons. So, the Fractured Fables, which you mentioned were 5-star reads for you. I recommended those to everybody I could. I just turned around and I was like, "Have you read this series? You should read this series. I don't care what you like reading, you can read this series. It's all the things you could ever want in a book." And it's only like 200 pages. So, like, if you don't like the commitment, it's not one.
They're so good. They're so good.
So good. And then Mountains Made of Glass by Scarlett St. Clair. Just reading that whole book in the JFK airport is a whole a whole vibe in and of itself.
Was the book the memory, or was the location and event of reading the book the memory?
The event. The book
Yeah.
itself, excellent,
Yeah,
wonderful.
good.
But the whole of it, the event that I created was very memorable. I also read a book called The Stolen Fae by Amelia Shaw, which was like a little fun side read. And I was like, as I was going through my things, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to read the rest of that series. No, I forgot that I read it, but I'm going to call it most memorable because I need to put it on my 2026 reading list. And then the other book that I read, A Soul of Ash and Blood by Jennifer Armentrout,
Armentrout? Sure, sure, sure.
I would say was one of my most memorable books. And I loved that book because it's the very first book of the series, essentially, but from a point of view from a different character. And so for me, it was just such a fun read of like getting to see the same story that I loved from a different character's point of view. And I had friends that read it and they were like, it felt like a waste of a book. And I was like, no, it was everything I needed.
I love it. I think other than The Hint of Light, the books that stood out the most to me was Rise of the Shadow Lords by Sarah Samuels. Reignited my faith in the dark fantasy genre. And I just recently went on about a 50-minute rant about reviewing that book by myself. So I'm either gonna have to re-record that or edit the shit out of it. Um, and Starling House by Alex Haro, because It is gothic horror done right. I think those three books, I think the reason they stick with me so much is because they are like the epitome of what their genres are supposed to be. They're like the pinnacle of how you write that thing. Kristen Kisko with like the emotional poignancy. Sarah Samuels with the dark, like brutally dark fantasy. Like, do not read that book, Becca, but also you should read that book. And then Starling House with the Duxie.
Collecting trash.
And Starling House with the gothic horror. I loved that. I'm trying to think if I had a favorite fantasy book. Is there a fantasy that stands out to me the most? I mean, it might be the Fractured Fables because of like their snarkiness and the fourth wall breaks and the like MCU spider multiverse thing. But I did just look up Kingdom Bash, and apparently I finished that in February. Or whatever. I don't know.
I
I
felt like
thought
that
I
was the
read all of
2024
that
read.
last year. I thought that entire series was 2024. I know Akatar was 2024. Ooh, I should say, after reading all these books this year, um, I would just like to put it on record that I think Throne of Glass, that series deserves a place in the upper echelons of high fantasy, epic fantasy. It is not romantasy. I think the more we've read, the more that series in particular stands the test of time. The Tower of Dawn, I could do without that particular book. I mean, give me the storyline, but like condense it. Um, but like otherwise, that is some grade A awesomeness. That when I read it, it was like the second romantasy type series you got me to read, and I thought it was good, but I didn't have much to compare it to other than things like Lord of the Rings and Sword of Truth and Wheel of Time and things like that. But like now, I can firmly say that thing stands the test of time. That is a good, and I don't know if Sarah J. Maas will write anything as good as Throne of Glass ever again.
We'll see what her other books, where Crescent City goes. I would say Crescent City is my second favorite. And Akatar brought me back to reading. So,
Akatar brought me out of a funk as well.
Yeah. We can give all of it hate for being so popular, but it's popular for a reason.
Somebody asked me what I thought of Sarah J. Maas, and I said that Throne of Glass is amazing, and I think the rest of Sarah J. Maas is a gateway drug.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily bad.
No.
But that's, yeah. So.
Did you have any 1-star reads?
Oh, 1-star reads. Nope, those are my did not reads. My 1-star reads, yes. Okay, I had 2 1-star reads. Okay. Let's see here. The first one is called Lincoln versus Davis: The War of the Presidents. And your mother bought me this book. And I actually really liked reading it. So 1 star is like, why? So, as with all historical texts, there is good, sometimes even new information to be learned in like every book you read. However, I think the way in which the information is presented matters, and the way in which the information was presented in this book was terrible. The author is not able to step out of like current day context. So, like, if you're going to talk about and have opinions about the military or slavery or things like that inside of a historical book, I think your opinions need to be based in historical context and not necessarily with a 2025 lens. Not that our opinions are wrong, but 2020 is hindsight. Hindsight is 2020, I should say. And it also seemed very obvious that this author thinks that nearly every prominent figure from the 1860s are inept idiots. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. So I gave it a 1 star because I liked the information. I liked the premise of it, being here's history of Jefferson Davis and Abraham Lincoln, but instead of giving it to you through the lens of them, I'm going to tell you about it through letters that they wrote to their wives, through diaries that their secretaries kept, things like that. So it was definitely a different perspective. But man, did that guy, he was just way too biased all the time. And I thought that kind of ruined things. And then the only other book that I rated a 1 was Skylark the Dragon Lady by Emily N. Madison, which I think I teased this one to you.
I
Uh,
think so, yeah.
I think the premise and the plot lines are pretty amazing in concept, but the actual writing and implementation was definitely lacking. The pacing felt horrible. Nothing of substance really occurred until the last 20 pages. I just couldn't get into it, man. But so I only had 2.
I avoid rating things a 1 star, so I think I just don't rate them if it's a 1 star. So my lowest rated one was The Ward Witch, which I convinced you to read. So
Mhm,
clearly, I liked it enough that it was worthy of that.
mhm.
But my least favorite book of the year was definitely The Red Queen. I had to listen to that and like angry walk around my neighborhood to get it done. Because at one point I was going to DNF it, and then I was like, I was 90% of the way done. And I was like, why am I DNFing an audiobook at 90%? Like, Becca, just go walk and you can at least get the
Go
ending.
walk, yeah.
So I think that's also a nice part about audiobooks. Like, even if you're feeling like meh about it, you can multitask a little bit and finish it.
How many books did you say you did not rate?
I didn't rate 15 of them. And that doesn't mean that they were low ratings. I just didn't feel strongly enough to assign a rating.
I did not rate 5 of the 61, and I just opened those. All 5 of them are Throne of Glass. And I think I didn't rate them because they were the first books I put into Storygraph, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. Also, Storygraph asks you a lot of questions. So I feel like if I'm going to rate it, I'm going to go through all of the questions, which are fair and valid. They're really good questions. It's just a lot of work sometimes. Is it character driven or plot driven? I still don't know how to answer that question. If it's not both, is it a book?
If it's not both, it's not a good book. That's my opinion.
Because if it's just plot, it's history. And that's should be nonfiction. And if it's just characters, that's a biography.
Mhm.
And again, nonfiction.
Did you notice though? I think it's just like it's been 2 weeks. Storygraph changed the order of how you do your book review. So you do the star and then your comments and then all the questions are below that now.
Oh, okay. Maybe
Like
I'll
it's
fill out a
very
comment.
recent. And I I really think because you and I have both complained about that multiple times, I'd like to think that the podcast that nobody watches is responsible for this change in software. If there's too much more to discuss about 2025,
I was going to say,
is
I feel
there?
like we've talked about some of our goals in 2026. So to sum it up, we're going to keep recording podcasts. We're going to keep doing some buddy reads. We're going to keep reading multiple types of authors with
Huh?
multiple types of subgenres of fantasy.
Huh?
We're going to go back to crocheting, hopefully for the book fest, but who knows if it'll
Even just for
be
the
other
wine.
times. And we're going to keep patroning our local libraries.
Yes. And then I'm going to keep interviewing authors, and we are going to add one more thing to the podcast, episodes like this.
Yes.
It's not about a specific book. It's not reading something. It's just talking about books. And I think that'll be fun. And I think, quite frankly, that's what I kind of always wanted to do. 2026 is going to be cool. Lots of different episodes. We'll go to events. If you have library events in Athens that you want Elizabeth or I to attend, I totally understand the whole, this is Becca time. But like, throw those at us, text us. Yeah. So 2025 was a blast. I had a lot of fun, even though you don't always feel up. We do not always feel up for doing the podcast. It was still a blast.
Yes.
Thank you to everyone that tuned in to the podcast this year, and through the, I guess, thank you to Kristen Kiska. You're the only author that was on the podcast in the year 2025 that got published. Thank you to Molly Cox Bryan. I got to interview you this year. Thank you to Sarah Samuels for the free book and for listening to our episodes and sending us some feedback and all of those things. And thank you to Becca for being my friend.
Thank you, Matt, for encouraging me to do this. Never would I ever have done this without you.
You're welcome. I'm nothing if I'm not an instigator.
And of course, if you want to connect with us, work with us, all of our contact information will be in the description below.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in for 2025. And we'll be back with a whole bunch of cool stuff in the rest of January. I think this is going to be the first episode of 2026. Here's to 2025 and looking forward to 2026. It's going to be cool.
Yes.
Until next time. Cheers. Bye.